Good evening, everyone. You can go ahead and take your seats. We'll go ahead and start this evening's meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and joining us, and those of you that are joining us online. My name is Stephanie Bishop. I'm one of the Public Information Officers with California Interagency Incident Management Team 2. Just for housekeeping, if there is any emergencies, we have an exit out there and an exit over here. As for questions this evening, we will be taking them after all the presenters do present, so please hold your questions till the end, and we will also be taking questions from online. To start out, I'm going to let you know that the McKinney fire is currently at 59,666 acres and 30% containment, and the Smoky fire is at 34 acres with 50% containment. So for our opening comments, I'm going to invite up my Siskiyou County Board of Supervisor, District 4, Nancy Organ, and Karuk Tribe Emergency Manager, Jackie Nushi.
He was supposed to correct me. We were supposed to be secret.
Not Oregon.
Oh, I didn't want to call you Ogre.
So it's Ogren, not Oregon. Just, And it's Nushi, not sushi. So there, we're good.
No, you were good. You were good.
So thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to give you a little bit of information and then turn it over to the real professionals. I just want to let you know that I am so grateful for the ability to help you in this really critical time. This has been so important to all of us, and I have given it my all to be able to help you. And the ability for these folks to be united in this very hard fight. This has been a super difficult fire, all of them, all 31 or so. And for us to be evacuated in Wairika is something that doesn't happen very often. And for you to react quickly and calmly and show your united front and be patient makes all the difference in the world. And we all really do appreciate that. So thank you for your patience and your cooperation. And as we start to move forward with recovery, we will do it to the best of our ability and hope that you can move forward with us. It will take time, and we just hope you can move forward with us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Nushi. I'm the Karuk Tribe Emergency Manager. I work very, very, very close with Brian, probably too close. But I wanted you to know that anybody that is here from the tribe to know, is that better? I'm not a very quiet person, so. I wanted anyone that's here or online watching that's with the tribe know that we do follow behind the county. So anything that we do is basically starts with them. We don't run on our own. The other thing I wanted to let you know, and people in the tribe, that we are still in response mode from the Yeti fire in Happy Camp. And so we probably will move into more of a recovery next week. If you have any questions from the tribe only, I'm just kidding, you can call me at 530-572-8303. I don't know why I looked at you. I have a couple of other announcements for two other organizations. One is United Way. I have to talk about them. This is where I used to work. They will be here on Tuesday at the shelter, and anyone that has signed up with the shelter, they will hand out a $100 gift card to you. And you can spend that on basic needs or whatever you need. And then they will also be opening up their, and I have to read this, their emergency financial assistance program, and it's for those that have lost 50% or more of your property, your home. and it's a $500 gift card that they hope will help you. And then the next thing I want to bring up is Project Camp. Project Camp is an amazing organization, and I'm just going to say that it is basically summer camp for kids in disaster. So coming up, guys. Faster. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. My name is Mikey Latner. I'm the Executive Director for Project Camp, and we're running a free pop-up day camp starting Monday, running through Friday at Wairika Jackson Elementary School here in Wairika. Free full-day program, snacks and meals provided, and we're there to provide support and childcare for the kids and space for parents and families to do the work to rebuild. Our website is www.projectcamp.co. Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said on our last meeting, we are united. California Interagency Incident Management Team is united with CAL FIRE, and my counterpart is actually here with us tonight, Susie Brady, which everybody knows. My next guest I'd like to bring up is Klamath National Forest Forest Supervisor Rachel Smith.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Smith. I'm the Forest Supervisor for the Klamath National Forest. I wanted to say thank you for joining tonight, whether you're here in person or joining online. It's been a really difficult week for us over the last week, and I wanted to start by just saying thank you. It's really taken a Siskiyou County response and Northern California response for us to fight this fire, and each of you have been part of that. Whether you've been part of it in terms of evacuating early, listening to the evacuation warnings, whether you've been part of it in terms of supporting, dropping off cookies at ICP, or bringing things for the firefighters, or whether you've actually been part of it supplying water, assisting with evacuations, helping your neighbors get out their livestock, we appreciate everything that you've done, and we absolutely couldn't do it without you. So right now we have a little bit more than 2,000 firefighters working on the McKinney fire. They're making, as you heard, very good progress on that fire, but it's not out yet. So just speaking for Chief Laws and Chief Anzo, with whom I'm in unified command, we're really proud of the work that's been done so far, but I wanted to ask you to stay vigilant and remain patient because we still have work going on. This morning, you likely saw that we had very significant lightning activity across the county. We're continuing to pick up new fire starts, so CAL FIRE and the Forest Service, along with the incident management team that's working on the fire, are all collaborating to respond quickly to those fires. The thing I wanted to mention tonight is that we're also starting to see other fire activity around the state. So what that's doing is it's starting to pull resources away from us. The next 72 hours are going to be pretty important for us as we're working to button up this fire and make as much progress as possible. But just to our west on the Six Rivers, they had 8 new named starts this morning as a result of wildfire, as a result of lightning. And in Southern Oregon, we also have new fire activity there as well. So I expect things to remain very active, and wanted to ask you to just remain patient, keep communicating with us, and know that all of your firefighters are out there in an interagency effort to put out these fires as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. My next speaker is going to be California Interagency Incident Management Team Operations Section Chief Matt Conklin.
Hey, good evening. I'm going to wander over to the map because that's why I'm here. So we're going to start off in Branch 1, which is the western portion of the fire. It's the closest to the Interstate 5, which is about 5.5 air miles to the freeway itself, just for a little bit of reference. So cruiser, this is our last piece of critical line on the southern end of the fire. And crews were able to get in here and actually go direct on all of this. So we have all of this cut out, along with all of this up to this dozer line. So this all has hand line on it right now. This is really our only piece of open, uncontained line so far on the western side of the fire, and we'll come back to that here in a little bit. Coming down through here, all this stuff up of Humbug Creek. A lot of good work in here. Very, very little heat showing anymore. Got a little bit of heat in here that the folks are mopping up. Got a good hose lays in here, so things are looking very good along this entire way, holding the road system. Coming down here to Baldy Gap, a little bit of heat still showing. We do have control line on this entire piece of the fire, with the exception of this right here. And this is just naturally backing in right now, and we're going to continue to allow that to do so. It's doing exactly what we need it to do. Coming all the way around the area here, things are looking good. This is just above Fort Jones, for a little bit of reference. So things are looking very good. Very low heat signatures out there. A lot of good mop up. As we come up this dozer line here, this is just above the Scottville and Mill Creek area. The fire's backing down to this dozer line right now. In most places it's touching the dozer line. There's a couple areas that have maybe 50 to 100 feet to continue to back down, and we're allowing that to do that because it's coming down very slowly, and it's coming down very controlled. So we're going to just continue to allow that to do that. Coming through here, this is the Mill Creek Road itself. Fire is actually just about right here right now as it just continues to back. All natural fire. So we're monitoring that. This is well staffed with hose lays and hand crews. So we're looking very good in that section of the world. This all has hand line on it, and we have 4 hot shot crews all the way through here, mopping this up and securing our edge just through this area. This is active today. We're actually having to keep up with a little bit of fire as it continues to back. It's down in this drainage, and it's trying to run up at our dozer line. So far we've been successful. We did experience 3 spot fires today that we've picked up, all of them about an acre to an acre and a half each, but we've picked them all up, and we're looking really good, and we're very confident that we will have controlled fire edge all the way to our dozer line today, which would complete control line on this side of the fire, or the east side of the fire, all the way down to Highway 96. As we cross Highway 96 and come up to the north, this entire piece here, which is what we call Division Papa, has hand line and dozer line around the entire thing. So we have control lines around everything in here. Crews mopping up. We just completed line at end of shift today. So they're going to continue to mop this up, and we'll be in this area for several more days continuing to mop up. This spot fire right here is just shy of 1,000 acres, which is pretty impressive to say that we have 1,000 acre spot fire in the Klamath River drainage. We went direct on it, and we got it. That's not a common occurrence in August. So we have one piece of open line right in here. We have a hot shot crew in there. They're mopping up. It's full of a bunch of snags. So they're being very diligent in engaging with those snags. It's a little bit slow going, but we're making very good progress. We do have control line around the rest of the fire. I'm going to jump up real quick here to our Smoky fire, which we discovered yesterday morning. That is, again, 34 acres. We have dozer line and hose line around the entire fire. We have no areas of concern in there. Things are looking very good. A lot of very good mop-up happened up there today. So we should be another day of full shift, and then we'll probably go down to a patrol status up there. So mitigated. Continuing down the Highway 96 corridor, this is all backed into the river itself. We're very confident with that, so we went ahead and blacklined this. Right here in what we're calling the Division Tango area, where it leaves the river itself. We had some heat for about 4 or 5 days right in this area. We engaged 2 strike teams of engines and 3 crews into there today. They mitigated that smoke, and there's maybe 5-8% of the smoke volume that we've been seeing. So a lot of really good work in there. Crews did manage to come up all the way to this dozer line, almost just shy of today. So again, this is our only area of concern and open line, something that we plan to have completed by end of shift tomorrow. So we're looking, a lot of good work out there. 2,000 firefighters doing a lot of good work out there. So looking good.
Thank you, Matt. Next, we're going to hear about fire behavior and our current weather with the fire behavior analyst, Dennis Burns.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to talk to the map just because I can. One of our old ICs said there's only 3 people allowed to touch the map: me, operations, and the IC. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here before this fire started. You know, California, and I don't need to tell you because some of you may have actually lost water so that they could ship it down south, and we can't grow our alfalfa. But, you know, multiple years of drought, and our fuels are in a state that, you know, quite frankly, I've never seen in a 40-year career. But more importantly, you know, the dead fuels we can deal with, but the live species of trees and brush and all that are starting at a deficit, and they've been in a deficit multiple years. So normally, a lot of those live species we wouldn't see burn. They would actually provide what we call a heat sink because the fire has to work hard to cook the moisture out of them, but they just don't have any moisture in them. So we have that added fuel loading. You know, now we have hot, dry temperatures, and then we get a fire start. And then we had extremely unstable conditions in the atmosphere, and basically a day and a half, 2 days, we ended up with this. I know a lot of people have been asking, because we had some pretty significant rainfall over part of the fire. We were actually having to rescue some people out of here. This part of the fire, generally about 2.5 to 3 inches. This part of the fire, nothing. Most of the fire actually got less than a quarter of an inch. The one cell that came over kind of set up right over here. This morning, we actually had a little bit more rain on the east side of the fire, all the way down into here, and we were actually seeing some spotting here by this afternoon. So we have different fuel classes, and so one's called 1 hour fuels, and that's grass, pine needles, the little stuff. And the reason why we call that is it just takes that amount of time to reach equilibrium with the atmosphere. So, you know, it rains on something, it gets it wet, sun comes out, an hour later, it's ready to burn just like it never was wet at all. All the way up to what we call 10,000 hour fuels, which are big old logs. But, you know, the things that we look at are the 1,000 hour fuels, which is a 6-inch log. We're running 4 to 6% fuel moisture. You go to your local lumber yard and buy kiln dried lumber, it's 11%. So that's wood that's been cooked in an oven. So that tells you how dry things are. So when people ask, you know, well, you had all that rain, you know, it actually benefited us. It allowed us to get in to these places and put those lines in that Matt was talking about, because the fire wasn't pushing us. But by no means did it even come close to putting it out. That 2.5 to 3 inches of rain happened in about an hour. We would have been better off with 1 inch of rain over 3 days, because that would have started having an effect on the fuels. But that amount of rain that quickly, no real effect. So a couple other things that are going on. I'm not really expecting any significant movement on our fire, because as Matt said, our firefighters have been out there busting it, and hopefully it's going to stay where it's supposed to stay now. The other factor is in what we call a backing alignment. Most of the fire is backing downhill instead of going uphill, so it tends to go slower unless it has wind or something pushing it down. But what we're really looking at is over the next several days, especially Sunday and Monday, are the conditions Sunday and Monday are going to be almost identical to when this fire started. So, you know, and we've been briefing the crews that are going out into the field so that they're setting their sights on what's going to be going on this weekend also. Because the biggest fear is that, you know, we have a jackpot of unburned fuel within the fire perimeter, and it's got heat in it, and it ignites. You can see what we call plume-dominated fire. And what that is that's when the power of the fire People have probably, you've heard people saying, the fire is controlling the weather, and that's plume-dominated fire. 40,000-foot columns. Sometimes they produce lightning. Sometimes they actually produce rain. It's called a pyrophoric cumulus nimbus cloud, is the scientific name. But we're going back into those conditions, and that's what we're focusing on. Tomorrow's going to be hot, dry. Potential for a little bit of thunderstorms again tomorrow. These ones that come in last night and potentially again, tonight through tomorrow, they're kind of a rare event because they sneak in. The meteorologist said there was a 10% chance, so he got it right. He actually was saying like a 3%, but I won't. And we ended up with a bunch of starts because of that, because they're dry and not a lot of moisture. So that's where we're going with that. One other thing, people may not know what a snag is that Matt was talking about, because I also teach. So a snag is a standing dead tree. And, sending crews into those types of things, because those can fall, even if they're not burned, just by ground disturbance. So we're super, super cautious about that. But also when they catch on fire, they do what we call candle, and then they can send embers over our line, so they need to be dealt with. So that's kind of where we're sitting, from the start of the fire and looking out the next couple of days. And Matt and I will be here for questions afterwards. So have a great evening.
Thank you, sir. Next from the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office. Sorry, I'm looking at Susie and she made me smile. Sheriff LaRue. Can't look over there.
You just need to get one thing out of the way here. That would be touching the map. I did get permission from the Forest Service to touch the map. The sheriff should be allowed to touch the map. Just saying. Well, it's good to be here again this evening. I appreciate the little humor. It's been a long period of time, but it's good to see your faces. I know it has been difficult, not only for you, but the entire community. I speak about that quite frequently. We all feel the same pain as a community. And so it is very exciting that we have been able to get people back into their homes. Others are still waiting. And we just ask for continued patience as we move forward. We still have 4 people that are confirmed fatalities that we have not yet positively identified. It takes time. And again, I would like to just take a moment of silence to honor those that we have yet to identify that are members of this community that are now deceased. Please bow your heads with me, please. Thank you. So this is a long process, and it's a pleasure that we are able to serve law enforcement with fire resources. It takes the whole community. We've talked about that. People are serving in ways that they never have. They're partnering with local organizations, and that's refreshing to see. We've seen a lot of smiles amidst the sadness. I wanted to talk about a group that's been instrumental, which is our search and rescue team. Not only the Siskiyou County Search and Rescue Team, but those from Southern Oregon and all throughout California that have showed up. They are volunteering, and they've actually volunteered over 1,000 hours to be here in this community to help us search for remains of people and also clearing areas for safety. We couldn't do it without them. And I will say this, if you ever want to be a part of a team that serves in the community, search and rescue is an excellent choice. We have our team here locally. You can sign up anytime. It's a very tight group that They're tasked with many different things, and one of them is going out, finding people, making sure they're okay, and bringing them back. And so just wanted to throw that out there for the future. So search and rescue and also the folks in fire and law enforcement are doing damage inspections, and they've been looking for human remains. And that has been the last several days. So we have a little bit more time before we can finish that, but that's what we've been working on. And we hope to get more information out to you soon. So it's collaboration. We mentioned that. It takes everyone to be successful. So everybody here, and the cool thing about a lot of people here is that we live here. We're part of the community with you. So we wear different uniforms, but we're all community members. And that, I think there's power in that. So we look after each other. And so even when this fire has finished, when people are back in their homes, when we've gone through the grieving process, we're still going to be here. And we're working together. And that's powerful. So if you need anyone to turn to, people that are in this community are here for you. I want to mention, if you'll see, well, you'll see me if you look behind me, but the Zone Haven system, I believe Brian might talk a little bit about that. There it is. So every day we get together with law enforcement and fire officials to discuss how we deal with evacuations and repopulation. So we want to the goal is to get everyone back home. It is a long process. It's tedious because we don't want to bring people back into a risky situation and then have them re-evacuated, as you can imagine. So again, just for reference, the red on the map is an order. That means you have to immediately get out. And the yellow is a warning. Now, warning is get ready. Be prepared to go. I want people to adhere to those warnings and just know that there is a lot of thought put into those. They're not just last minute. So we plan and we prepare. So if you see those and you know people that live in those areas, I encourage you to help reach out to those folks. I know that there's been questions about getting the word out, and I think these meetings are very helpful. So I do appreciate them for all the people involved. And I did say I would give a shout out to the production crew here. Doesn't get a lot of love. There they are. So without them, camera crew, sound, putting this giant screen up, we wouldn't be able to have this streaming all around the world, really. So thank you folks back there for making that happen. So we will adjust these colors as needed, as necessary. But again, get the word out. If you have questions about it, find one of us that can help. Basically, don't leave here tonight if you have questions about zones, colors, what they mean, or if you have questions about where the fire is. This is your time for that. The public has done a phenomenal job of evacuation for the most part. So I want to thank you guys. I speak with the Chief Gilman from the Wairika Police Department quite frequently, and he would want me to convey to you that very impressed with how Wairika responded to the evacuation orders and warnings. So thank you for that, if that applies to you. And thank you for those that are in the county for listening to us and getting out and being aware of the orders and the warnings. And just know that we're still out there patrolling the areas, and we'll be there as long as we need to be there to make sure that your properties are safe. And if you have any questions, you can see me afterwards. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker from the Siskiyou County Office of Emergency Service, Director Brian Shinoni.
All right, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, and thank you for the podium, so I won't be moving around. All right, so I drive around. I was driving in this morning, and my immediate thought was, was the recovery phase of this. I drove around, and I'm sitting in here today, and I'm seeing the red, white, and blue 22. We should be getting ready for the Siskiyou County Fair, but instead, our county is battling wildfires. And that return to normalcy is really what our goal is. So as your emergency manager, that is our commitment to you, is to make sure that we can get back some kind of normalcy to our county. So we are in contact with Klamath County, Jackson County, Delnor County, Modoc County, Humboldt County, all of our neighbors. I'm trying to be a good neighbor and let them know what's happening. So if we have to evacuate to any one of those spots or any one of those counties, that they know that. And we will, in their time of emergency, we'll be right there for them and to help them out and reciprocate that need. So evacuations and shelters. No map? All right, that's all right. 69 zones are colored. Our population that are affected is 7372, and we have 6,000 structures that are within the evacuation zones, whether it be order or warning. That's a large number of our county. As we know, our county is not a densely populated county. We're a vast county, 44,000 folks, and that's a big chunk of our population. So we really want to make sure that, as Sheriff said, we want to make sure that we are paying attention to those orders and warnings. The one thing that we see a lot is that warning is like, oh, well, they just did it. And like Sheriff said, we're taking into that consideration every day. Displacing folks, that's difficult. That's a difficult decision that Sheriff and I and the IMT and the incident commander, we all have to make that decision. And that's difficult. That weighs on me. When I visit the shelters, that's a difficult decision. It's difficult to see those folks. So with that, one of the things we need to do, right now we have 28 people in sheltering from the Klamath River area and around. Those folks are looking to our partner with American Red Cross, who's been just an outstanding partner in Siskiyou County. We can't thank them enough. Along with the Karuks and Jackie, we work together closely to make sure that we have that relationship, especially in a time of need such as this, and downriver because it is so remote. I look at plans in this. I look at multiple plans, and I write plans. I write my Alpha plans and my Bravo plans, and I make sure that we have contingency plans. So the folks that are out there, and we think about this constantly. The Emergency Operations Center has been open since Saturday. Yes, last week, Saturday. I forgot what day it was. So we've been open since Saturday. We've been working around the clock, making sure that we have everything that the county needs for support. We're working on a LAC, so a local assistance center, that will be open soon. We're finalizing the date. One thing that we're really looking at with a LAC is we're making sure we're going to see more red or more black on that and less red before we open that LAC, because there will be more folks affected. Also, Cal OES's director was up here yesterday. My days are kind of running together. I'm sorry on that. So Cal OES director was up here, and they asked, what do we need? And I was very blunt and very frank on it. And I said, we need help. The Siskiyou County needs help, and we want to make sure that we're doing it right. So I want a recovery team up here. I put in the request for phase 1 debris removal for Klamath County, or Klamath River area, not Klamath County, Klamath River. Put in that. We'll wait to see what happens with that. Looks good though, looks positive. And now, as we talk about that, we're going to talk about the damage. So there was inspected, 274 buildings were inspected. So the DINS team was out, which is damage inspection team, that I cannot thank CAL FIRE enough for that. Again, like Sheriff said, working together as partners. This is a group effort throughout. So we have 274 buildings, or 274 inspected. Of those, 132 were destroyed, total destruction on that. 87 of those were residents. So those are Siskiyou County community members that have been affected by this. So with that, let's talk about warning and alerts, my favorite subject. Code Red. We've been pushing Code Reds out, and we will continue to push Code Reds out. For those of you that are watching that may be downriver, you may have received 2 or 3 Code Reds today. That's going to be the new normal while we're in this. You're going to get Code Reds a lot. We're going to keep pushing them. We also, the state has adopted RAVE, warning and alerts. We've implemented that. The folks at RAVE have been outstanding at putting this together and implementing this within a week. So we will be pushing Code Red and RAVE, and we also have iPause, which, real quick, has anybody seen a message come across their TV screen? Anybody? Yes? Yeah? Maybe on your cell phone? You're going to get those. So sorry, we're going to interrupt your television, your regularly scheduled programming, and we are going to push alerts out on that. We'll use iPause. It's one of those things that you want to use, but you don't want to use because it is, no matter what, you're getting it. So we're pushing Code Red, RAVE, and iPause. Sometimes double Code Red. With that, Zone Haven is going to update immediately. So once we push that Code Red out, it updates. And once that updates, if you haven't downloaded Watch Duty on your phone, which is an app, it's free. They've done a really good job. They're taking our information and they're putting it right into Watch Duty. So I think that's a fantastic tool. This is, I think, their first year piloting it, and they've done a really good job. They've actually reached out to us at the county and asked for some of the stuff wasn't correct, so we made sure that they fixed that immediately. And that's where we're at. That is our response part of it, which is, I want to say thank you to the firefighters and the law enforcement, especially when you drive around town and we see the first responders. Thank you, first responders, definitely. But also, we have to look at that as the long term. The response is quick. It's a small portion, although it does seem like it's long, but the recovery is what's going to be the longest part of this. And I want to let you know that we, Brian Schnone, Siskiyou County OES, as your emergency manager, that is our goal, is to ensure that there is a good recovery program involved with this. So I wanted to say thank you, and again, looking forward to this, and I don't think I moved that much, right? Was I better today? All right. So, thank you.
You did move the podium. Thank you, Brian. Our final speakers will be our Unified Incident Commanders from California Interagency Incident Management Team 2, Nikki Johnny, and from CAL FIRE, Daryl Laws.
Hi, my name is Nikki Johnny. I'm from the El Dorado National Forest, which is just south of you guys near Sacramento and Lake Tahoe. So I thought I'd talk about basically why I'm here and why my team was ordered. I'm just going to give the short Team 2. Let's just call us Team 2. There's 10 teams in California that normally respond to federal incidents. Sometimes they're wildfires, sometimes they're hurricanes, sometimes we pick up shuttle parts, whatever the federal government wants us to do and however we can help. So Team 2 comes to the Klamath quite a bit, and mainly what our purpose is to bring calm to chaos, really, right? So my team consists of mainly around 70 people initially, and then we get on site and we start ordering more folks to come help. But for the majority of it, we have an IC, which is myself, and a deputy. It's kind of in charge of this incident and the personal welfare of the firefighters and the public within the fire. My staff, I have a liaison that helps with the sheriff and OES and anybody else and all the cooperators. We have cooperator meetings every day at 10 o'clock. Also have a public information office that actually helps put together all these meetings, hires the camera, the production company, sends out the updates, coordinates with the media. So we do all that, and then we also have operations that gives direction to the firefighters, planning that helps with accountability, the incident action plan tells everybody what we're going to do that day in writing, and then the briefing. Finance, we got to pay the firefighters and the contractors, everybody that comes to the fire needs to get paid. And also we come out to the community and ask for help sometimes, right? We ask for your services. Which one am I missing? Operations, plans, finance, logs. Oh my gosh, I forgot logs. So logs, basically, we build a city. We build a mini city. I've been to the fair a few times, and we've built a city here, right? Because we got to feed them, we got to put them, we got to give them a place to go to the bathroom, right? That's always a big one. Where to sleep, all that stuff that takes care of the firefighters, Gatorade, water, everything you can think of. So we come in when the fires like this, the 60,000 acre fire, is a little bit too much for the local unit to handle. We come in and we try to organize everything for them. I know the ticker says 2,400 folks, but now we have 27. I just signed the 2,700 firefighters that we have to take care of. I am in unified command with CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE has their camp here, and they're doing the exact same thing that I just said that the team is doing, but we're doing it together to make sure everything is coordinated. And actually, this is working out really well, this relationship that we have. We're having a great time. I've learned a lot about Daryl, actually, on this trip. So I just wanted to let you know, I kind of give you a brief overview of what a federal team does when we come to your community. So if you have any questions, get with me or anybody on the team, and we can give you a little bit more information. But I want to thank you for coming out. Thank you for inviting us into your community to help. And we're public servants. We're here to serve. So thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. So I'm Daryl Laws. I'm the operations chief for the CAL FIRE Siskiyou unit. And like Nikki said, we're in unified command together. And I'm serving as a unified IC representing you, CAL FIRE, for this incident. I also serve you as a deputy county fire warden for Siskiyou County. Last Friday, real tough day. We had a fire that started. We felt like we were going to. Unfortunately, that cumulus cloud came over, that thunder cell, and those outflow winds pushed that thing every which way, and we went from 300 acres to 18,000 in a couple hours. The Klamath National Forest, our local volunteers, Klamath River, we have 30 departments here in the county, and probably almost every department responded to the incident. And a lot of you have suffered much loss during this fire, and just want to offer my condolences to those that have lost property and maybe even lost their life. So, like Nikki had talked about, we're at 60,000 acres, and a week ago we were in a pretty bad spot. It's going through, but today we're in a different place. Today we got 30% containment. You heard our operations talk about that. And that's due largely to the ability to get resources up here to Siskiyou County from both the state, from the federal government, also leveraging our local departments throughout the state of California and even into Oregon. We were able to get some other stuff, and probably from other states that I don't know about. But Nikki had talked about there's 2,700 firefighters on the incident now. And it's going to take a lot of people to put this thing to bed. I talked to the firefighters that compared this fire to a sleeping giant. We got that little bit of that rain on that east side. We didn't get much on the west side. And it kind of laid down there, and it's just, it's waiting to jump up. Our F-band, he talked about the weather coming up, and we're going to have some tough weather. It's going to be super hot. We're going to have some winds. We're going to have some challenges, and mostly we're not out of the woods yet. We're out there. We've got 30% containment. You're starting to see some black line on the map, and the firefighters are making great progress. They're working hard. They're flying aircraft. If the smoke clears a little bit, there's aircraft in the sky, and they're going out there to work and help the firefighters. The dozers and the firefighters that are cutting line, putting hose lays in. They're helping those people make progress and really to tie these pieces of the puzzle together to contain this fire. So I just wanted to recognize our partners that are here. And I've heard a little bit, our local law enforcement partners, the Sheriff's Office, YPD, CHP, and I'm probably going to forget some folks, and I'm sorry for that, but the county with OES and all the things that happen, that have to happen to help us get around this fire. It's not about just putting the fire out. it's about all the other things that go along with it. It's the recovery effort afterwards. It's making sure that we apply for the right programs to bring money into the county. So it takes everybody to make that team work. And I want to recognize our some of our volunteer firefighters out here. I see Chief Jones. I see some of the firefighters from Klamath River, Bill and Eric. Folks that are out there that they give their time. It's not even their job, but they give their time they volunteer their time to help others. So I really want to recognize them, and even the fairgrounds for allowing us to come in here and set up the camp. Thank you, Cliff. Appreciate that. So, and just want to close out one last thing. I got asked at the last meeting, how can I help? So I just want to say, in your community, there might be a fire safe council in your community. And what that fire safe council does is they talk about projects around your community that might help protect your community. They apply for grants. They can bring in contractors to do work to remove vegetation. So I just ask you, in your community, if you can get involved. Those of you that maybe are able-bodied that want to donate some time or volunteer some time to become volunteer firefighters, please do so. We need you. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so now is when we're going to start doing some questions and answers. And if we don't get to your question during the presentation, everybody's going to stay behind, so feel free to come up afterwards and talk to them. Here's how we're going to do questions. I'm going to start on this side. We're going to ask 3 questions, and then I'll go to this side and ask 3 questions. I have Rick over here who has the microphone. He will hold it for you guys. Just go ahead and ask your question into it, and then we will get the appropriate person up here to give you an answer.
Yeah, my name is Paul McCoy, and I was an evacuated Wairika resident. And my question is for Brian. I love Watch Duty, but right now it runs about 18 to 24 hours behind. Can we ever expect it to run on time? Because my wife and I listen to it, use it all night, and it's quite disconcerting to not be able to get up to the minute data or within a couple hours. Thank you.
Great question, sir. So the question was, can we speed up Watch Duty? That's a private app. So they're pulling information from our sources. One of the things that I highly recommend is follow a reputable source. So my sheriff's page is a fantastic page, well maintained. And I would say the second best page would be the Siskiyou County OES page. Each one of those pages are fed constantly. We're in the Emergency Operations Center right now, and we have one person that sits there and updates away for both of our pages. So our Twitter page, we have all of that. The Klamath River, outstanding partner in this, pushing us information as needed. CAL FIRE, pushing us information as needed. As it's pushed, we're shared. So some of you, I always get that question, well, we don't have social media. Don't worry, I have you covered. Our Siskiyou OES page now has our Facebook scroll right there on the Siskiyou County OES page. We have links for you. We have all of that information. My recommendation would be not to rely on Watch Duty. It's there as a tool, but the information is coming from us. So we have boots on the ground giving you real-time information. That's going to be much better than the guy in Silicon Valley who's pumping out information on Watch Duty. And no problem, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, this question's for Daryl. Also, I want to mention there's 2 other applications you can use. Broadcastify is one, and then FireTrack is another. Those are 2. Broadcastify is a direct scanner, basically. And speaking of that, Daryl, I know the fire kind of overwhelmed you guys on Friday. I was listening. That being said, we know that Air Resources is just a tool that we can use to fight fire. And that doesn't put fire out. I mean, you guys around here are doing a great job of making that go out. I can't believe the organization is just mind-blowing. So thank you very much, everybody, for protecting us. But how many acres was the fire, and when was air called out for, or the call for resources air?
So if I'm understanding the question you're asking is when the fire first started, how many acres was it before Air Resources was called to assist? Okay.
So whenever a fire is dispatched out of the interagency center here, there's an automatic aircraft, we call it an aircraft load. And on a normal dispatch, it could be one air attack, a couple copters, and 2 air tankers. That's normal. I know that as I was driving into our 911 center, that they were launching other aircraft, including the VLAT, which is a very large air tanker. It's a DC-10 is the one I saw. It carries an amazing amount of retardant that they put on the fire. So when we dispatch incidents, if there's clear air and we can safely put aircraft in the air, we do, every time.
No, you're good. Does anybody else have a question on this side? All right, right there.
My name's Dave. I just wanted to know on the Zone Haven map that the sheriff had on the screen there, when was that updated? Was that today? That one there?
So your question is on the Zone Haven map that we have up, was it updated as of today?
How often do they update that? And this particular display, when was that one updated?
Okay.
Do we know?
Yes.
Yeah, so anytime there's going to be a change in evacuations, so the gray stuff is normal, and then yellow's a warning, and then red is an order. So anytime we change it, all we have to do is click on those things and update it. So it's immediate. So it can update all day. So it's at the time of the notice, if that answers your question. Good, thanks.
Anybody over here have a question?
It's for the sheriff. It was referring to the sheriff's website, and under closures, it talks about CFR 36 CFR 261, and it talks about the closure of 96. Second paragraph says these people are exempted from this closure, and it includes landowners in the fire area. And yet, at the block down at 263, I was prevented from going downriver this morning. And I mentioned it, and they said, you're not the first person, but we can't let you downriver. And I don't understand. Either the website's wrong, or the employees are wrong.
So your question is you're asking to get a little more accuracy information in regards to the closure on 96, and if landowners are allowed to go in or not. Okay.
The website says we are.
Okay.
And I don't understand, if it says we are, how do we change it?
Is it the website or is it Facebook?
No, I don't play in Facebook. This is website.
I can't blame you for that part about Facebook. So
I got to it by going to InstaWeb.
Sure.
And it says Sheriff's, District County Sheriff's. I clicked on that.
Right.
And it came up, and there's a light green box, of which one of them is entitled Closures. Mm-hmm. And it goes all into this 36 CFR stuff that talks about who has authority and all this other kind of stuff. And then it says exemptions. Now, if there are exemptions, why wasn't I allowed? If they're not exemptions, why is it there?
Sure. No, I'll answer that. So I will say that our website, I'd have to go and look at it. It has not been updated for some time. Sometimes when we have road closures, it depends on the jurisdiction and where it is. Specifically with this jurisdiction, 97 is closed for a couple different reasons. It's restricted basically for everybody right now, with some exceptions. One, of course, is media, if it's just media, and it's a safe manner. So if you're a resident in that area, there are limited ways that we could assist depending on what you need to get there for. Like, for example, if someone needed to get medication, we can assist with that by probably providing escort services for you to get that and get back. But as far as getting back in the evacuation zone, we can't allow that because a couple things are going on right now. An evacuation zone is essentially right now, because we have to determine an investigation, through an investigation, cause and origin, we treat it like a crime scene. There's obviously safety issues about getting back to the property and going through remains, for example, or sifting through anything. There's hazardous materials, there's trees that are down, there's power lines that are down. So we have to do a hard closure. And so the intent is not to be confusing or restrictive. The people that are at the roadblocks will have the most up-to-date information. We have been coordinating with people, though. If you need to get through for a certain specific reason, we will listen to you and try to accommodate if we can safely. We have officers up and down 96, but primarily it's because it's not the safest place to be. And so if we open it up for residents, then we have other issues because we haven't deemed them safe for repopulation. And if the website needs to be updated, I'll take a look at it so we can fix that. It's not to try to be contradictory, because we want to be as clear as we can about those evacuations and road closures. Does that answer your question? Okay. Well, you can see me after. Okay. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, right. Sure. Okay, so there's federal authority, and then there's state authority. And 409.5 of the Penal Code is state authority, which restricts, that I'm operating under. And it is restricted now due to the investigation and also the safety issue. So there are those exemptions for the federal side of it, but I'm operating under the California Penal Code. Right, I could clean that up for you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. And we'll look that up and before you leave tonight, and we'll make sure we are all looking at the same page too. Right? Over here?
I waited until the important questions were asked. There's these bugs that are coming in and attacking us like little bomber pilots. Yeah, you know the ones I'm talking about. Now, I'm not sure what they are. I read online that they're like smoke beetles and they lay their eggs in the trees. Are they going to leave with you guys with the smoke?
No, we bring those and leave them for you. No, just kidding. Does anybody have an answer for that?
The information on that, because a lot of us have no idea or clue.
I don't
and
think
they bite.
Any of us know about those, but I can look it up and try to get some information and put it out on the website. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. But they're our gift to you if you'd like to keep them. Does anybody else on this side have any questions?
When's our next update?
Well, our next written update will be tomorrow morning. As for our next meeting, we have not planned that just yet. Susie and I will talk tonight, and we'll get that out to you guys as soon as possible. But I do know if you guys want information regarding the Yeti or Alex Fire, they will be hosting a community meeting tomorrow night at the Happy Camp High School. I'm going to respond to a couple of these questions that we got online so we don't ignore those people. The first question is, this is going to be for you, Rachel. Is the Oak Knoll Ranger Station still there?
Yes. So many folks know that the knoll, as we call it, Oak Knoll, is where many of our firefighters sheltered in the midst of the firestorm, and the knoll did make it through. So it's been out of water, power, everything for the last couple days. We just managed to get a generator running, and we have water again, which is really great for all of our responders. And for those of you who know Kevin the Peacock, Kevin made it.
So this next two questions are going to be for you, Brian. The first one is there a timeline for assessments along the Hamburg Creek in the 4900 road area? And the other one is there a way to sign up for Code Red without an address?
Two very good questions. So one of them, I'm gonna look to Rick on that. We have damage inspection teams downriver, as you can imagine with the stats that I put out. There's a lot of work to do, and one of the things that they need to do is also come in and ensure that there's no hazardous waste, and that's really important. So this does take a little bit of time. There's still a massive effort for cleanup down there. We were down there yesterday, and it's a mess down there. So it's going to take some time. For those of you that haven't seen, the river is running really dirty from the debris flows. It is a mess. So it's going to be some time. I think that timeline is weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Dean.
Thank you, Brian. Rick Dean, I'm the Community Development Director for the county and represent the Environmental Health Department. The damage assessments are primarily being done by CAL FIRE and their DENS team. And currently they're about 80% complete with this. We still have outlying areas that they need to get to, and I'm anticipating that to be about 3 days or so before that's complete. Just looking at Mr. Laws for confirmation. Yeah.
And then what was my second question? Signing up for Code Red without an address. Yes, there is. So you can, it has a little like marker when you don't have an address. You can use your marker to kind of pinpoint where you're at. And when we send that Code Red, it goes out to everything in that area. As you can see, do we have zones? No. So the zones are very large. So oh, okay, look at that. Ask and you shall receive. So if I'm here and that zone's going to come out, and we send it in an order, the order is going to catch that pin with the Code Red because the Code Red is integrated into that. Additionally, like I said earlier, we're also going to be sending out iPods, so all of these zones are going to get hit. We have some folks, I had some folks in Oregon get hit. I had some folks call. I want everybody hit. Honestly, if people are getting hit in Hawaii with iPause messages, that's good. So I'm doing my job and getting the warning and alerts out. So I hope that answers your question. Kind of move that around, that little pin, and I'm assuming this was the virtual world that asked me that. So you out there, get that pin and then locate it. If you can't do that and it's just not absolutely working for you, give me a call at Siskiyou County OES and we'll fix that for you.
So a couple of questions were coming in from some of the guests that are here as well as online. I think they want to ask about the two yellows that are still in warning and why they're still in warning. And then it was also 3618B was never updated from a warning to evacuate. I didn't see that.
All right, let's talk about these first. The other day, I don't know what day it was, but anyways, the day it rained. We also had rain on Mount Shasta, and we had fires and flash flooding going on at the same time. So we are very aware of our beautiful Mount Shasta that is not got a lot of snow on it and had a burn on it last year. So all of that mud ran right down Whitney Creek, and that ends up, the alluvial fan ends up down here in the Big Springs area. That's in a warning, and that's going to continue to stay in a warning, if I'm correct, because every night around 5:30, 6 o'clock, when it catches the heat of the day, that thing is going to keep pushing until one day we just don't see that mountain anymore. We probably won't be here, but it's just going to keep doing it. It's also, if you don't know, doing it on the other side in Mud Creek on the McLeod Service District. You can check out my Siskiyou County OES Facebook page, and it's going to have Mud Creek flows on there as well as the Whitney Creek flows. So massive debris flows, a lot like what we saw in the Humbug Creek the other night that the firefighters were battling as well as fighting the fire. So that's why those two are in a warning. Now, the second question was? Is it close to Wairika? By the hospital. Can we zoom in? Yeah, that's, so we meet every morning. Why is it still in an order, right?
Yeah, why it's still warning, why it was never updated from warning to evacuate.
Oh, okay. That is probably the hospital. The hospital is in its own zone. So hospitals are hardened. There's a shelter in place. They are expected to be able to be structure protection. So a fire department's going to make that last stand because there are some people that just can't be evacuated from a hospital. So that's why that stayed in a warning. And then as you noticed, there was the clinic kind of off to the side there. That was red, and that was an order because that was not a hardened structure. And then there was the Karuk clinic kind of farther down, who was also not a hardened clinic or hardened facility that people could fall back and use as a shelter in place. That's why throughout the evacuation, that stayed in a yellow. And then if things got worse, obviously there would have been other. Oh, I think now I have questions.
And mine went from 36B to 36C in a day. So I live in that area.
So we do have the ability to.
My code changed.
You have a new code now. So we have the ability to split zones, and you're probably seeing that on the screen. You're going to see like A's and B's. So Chief Laws, all of the awesome incident management team meet up every morning, and we go through this. What can we take in? What can we take out of evacuation order? What needs to go into a warning? These are all decisions made by folks that are much smarter than I am and have a much better sense of fire that can make those decisions and then say, hey, emergency manager, go do that. So, yes.
Thank you. And to answer your question, my operations section chief looked it up. They're called charcoal beetles, and they will leave when they want to. That's the only answer I could come up with. Sorry. This is going to be for operations. I have two questions for you. The first question is, was night aircraft used?
No.
Don't go away. The second question is, how is Klamath River holding up, and what are plans there? If you want to talk about how it's holding up, I can have Brian talk about future plans.
Fire-wise, the Klamath River itself is doing fairly well. We're doing a lot of good mop-up in there and trying to secure around the homes and communities so that in the future, as things go forward, it's safe for you to do so from a fire standpoint. So we're working pretty diligently to make sure that that's coming real soon and that it's going to be safe here shortly for you guys to get into there when that's appropriate to do so.
Brian, you want to come talk about?
Yeah, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, I just covered it up. Sorry. What are the plans there?
So there's always a plan, right? So we look at this as a whole. And I keep an eye on everything, and I listen to the professionals for this. And then based off of their recommendations, then we implement a plan. As the saying goes, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. Well, we follow that to the T, is that we have plans on plans on plans. So a lot of folks ask, well, what are we supposed to do? I don't know. We got to wait till the scenario is there because I have a plan for it, but I don't know what the scenario is. So that's one of the things that we look at for the Klamath River. That is especially as a whole, the whole 96 corridor, right? We see the firefight these guys are in on that corridor, and all we can do is look at it each day and go from there. I take everything that these guys say to heart and everything that they have to say and the advice that they give, and then we build a plan from there. Sometimes it has to change immediately, but we've got a plan for something. Was that?
All right. The last question I'll go ahead and kind of give an answer to because it's been covered a little bit. It's asking about yellow zones near specific areas on the evacuation maps. And like the sheriff and Brian has talked several times, there's meetings every morning that they're in. They get an update from the fire personnel about what's happening out there. They talk about these zones and what's best for the situation, so they can be changed on a daily basis. They could be held for a few days, but it's done for the safety of the citizens as well as the firefighters out there when they're looking at that at those changes. Do we have any more questions on this side?
All right, I've just been wondering about those red dots that are below the warning zone, like in 204A and all that. What are they?
What those are? Huh? Road closures? I'm being told they're road closures. I was waiting for that question because I didn't know either. So, do we have any more over here that has questions? Yeah, you can talk again.
I'm sorry. It's like I know stuff. All right. So the red dots, if we can scroll in, right, the red dots are going to be road closures. This is an amazing tool when it's used because it has everything you could want. Hey, Brian, where is the evacuation shelter? Green dots. Where do I take my pets? Click on the green dots. Where do I have a cat or a chicken. Where do I take that? In Montague, we have a cat shelter. Click on the dots. It has all the information. Zone Haven is an amazing tool. It works fantastic. As the information comes in, we use it and we plug it in for you. So it's all there. We will answer any questions that you have, but if you just don't want to hear me talk anymore, those dots and all of that clicked on Zone Haven Aware is right there for you. Cool? Thank you.
Thank you. Over here
Yeah. Sorry, quick question for Brian. You mentioned you got some phase 1 brush removal approved for the river community. And just wanted to ask how we can get that sort of stuff before the fires happen in the future so we can't, we don't have to be here. And, can we, just make sure those relief funds are allotted to our community where we got hit the hardest for, stuff we need so this doesn't happen in the future instead of like afterwards?
Outstanding question. Just like Chief Laws had mentioned, the Fire Safe Council does a lot of really good work with that. We have a Siskiyou County Fire Safe Council. Susie Brady and I sit on that council every other Thursday. Yeah, I don't know. I get a lot of emails. But yes, we do sit on that. It is a fantastic tool. One of the other things we're going to look at, it hasn't been used in the past, but we're definitely attacking it this year, is our hazard mitigation grants. So we have hazard mitigation grants that will work on that. I'm applying for everything. I mean, if it's there, our office is putting in for it. And then you also have groups like, they're not here, CORE, who has volunteered. Team Rubicon, I also am a volunteer on Team Rubicon. We have hazard mitigation projects throughout the county. Our county is a rural county that's underserved. We're going to get every tool that we can possibly get up here, and that for me, as a pledge to the emergency manager, that is something that I'm going to do. We already have projects planned in September or October in Dunsmuir with Team Rubicon coming in, clearing out some of the river by the railroad there for fuels reduction. That's our plan. That we don't want this to happen again. This can't happen again. This cannot happen again to our community. So our pledge to that is to make sure that we have mitigation efforts in place. Does that answer your question?
You're cut off. Anybody else on this side have any questions? Anybody over here? Any online? Are we good? So this one's for you, Matt, in operations. Are they doing firing operations in Horse Creek behind the elementary school because they can see something going on behind their home?
Yes, and we're doing that defensively. We're not proactively burning. But what I was talking about here, I'll go back to the map. This piece of indirect dozer line here, as it's backing down, we are keeping up with that with fire, but 85% of that is natural fire. We're just trying to keep up with the edge there. It doesn't.
Your phone number, your landline, a text message, a birthday card, all of it. Like, put it in there. Get every number. If your neighbor's number needs to be in there, that your dog's number needs to be in there. That's how important it is, right? We know this. You have to get alerted. We also are going to run out rave. That's going to get pushed out too. When we did the test in June, I'm sure everybody got that. It was a countywide test. Sometimes we don't put our location in there, like the earlier question was asked, that we don't have our location, right? That's going to change. That's going to affect that. I was in Medford when that test went off, and I got it about 40 minutes later because I just wasn't in the area. So update your information. You can go in there, and if you've signed up, maybe it was 5 years ago when you signed up, 3 years ago. Well, I wasn't here, but somebody maybe have signed you up. Go back in there and so it was important to me to be part of that. And so I hope that answers your question. Keep signing up. If you absolutely do not know how to do it, get us on Facebook, email me, text me, and we'll get you signed up. Okay.
Me again. I just wanted to give an example of how Code Red works. My daughter lives in Tennessee, and they use Code Red. And I am signed up to hers, and she's signed up to mine. So anything that happens in her area, in fact, I was getting Code Reds tonight, and I was like, oh my God. And then I realized it wasn't here, so make sure there's somebody outside a county that's a friend or a family member, and make sure they're signed up, because what can happen is you may not get the Code Red, but they will get the Code Red, and they're going to call you, and you just might get that phone call or an email or a text or something like that. So, it's just kind of a secondary part of it.
Thank you. And Matt has a little follow-up in regards to the previous question he just answered on the burning.
So I want to clarify. Coincidentally, we're doing some burning above the elementary school on Highway 96, as is the Yeti. And I believe the question asked was from the Yeti, and they are doing some defensive firing over there, though I can't speak to specifically where. So coincidentally, both probably near elementary schools, visible there, but it is some defensive firing.
Thank you for the clarification. No more questions out there? I don't know where my guy went, So, hold on.
The code red, if you're signed up with it, how important is the web app? I mean, the phone app.
The phone app to get it?
I mean, you need to have that app.
The question is for code red, how important is the phone app for it? You want me to hold it for you?
Yeah. It is important. We use it. We'll send it on it. So when we click it, there's a page, and it asks you how we want to send the code red. And there's text, TTY, there's email, and emails are usually come from my email, so you can reply back to that and just say, hey, how's it going, Brian? You can do that throughout, but we also put the app. We don't always put the app because it takes a little bit of time. We have to do like a location monitor thing on there, and sometimes these pushes have to go out quick, and we don't want to mess around with that part of it. It's just easier to push it out. But if you would like that, we can start preloading those in there. If you want to use the app, we can. You guys got to tell me. It does eat your memory. That's the other thing too, is that for mine, because you have to keep your location services on. And I don't like NSA knowing everywhere where I'm at. So that's... Okay, so we don't always push... We don't push it in Siskiyou County for that reason, because we know that no one signs up for that and no one really downloads the app. Does that work? Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And we have one more question back here.
Hi, I'm Janet Jones, Chief of Klamath River. I know that in certain areas, Scott Bar, Horse Creek, there's some concerns about the firing and the fire as it's moving around. And I know that it's, in some cases, doing what you want it to do. Thank you for having 2,700 personnel on the fire. But I think in the communities, we're so spread out, and the residents that are at home within the evacuation areas, they don't see the equipment that is up on the line. You know, they might see a dozer line, but they don't see any equipment there. They're not seeing aircraft in the air in certain areas. And with the maps, we just got the boards downriver, but they're not seeing the containment. So you feel kind of helpless on what is actually happening. And then over at the school, some of that equipment is behind the school. We're not seeing strike teams move into areas that are would be in a pre-area, right? The fire is not there yet. So I think there's just a little confusion for the people that are in Klamath River, Scott Bar, Horse Creek, and that east end of, it's considered Wairika, but it's along the Klamath River. So I guess maybe the question is, where is that equipment, and how can you explain how that's dispersed along the fire line?
So I can actually probably answer that. So when this fire started, what I immediately do and what Susie did is we pushed orders to get PIOs to come out and help us. Those orders that we pushed are starting to get filled. And in that filling of orders, it allows me to get some personnel out there with cameras that are very good at photography and video, and start capturing some of the work that our firefighters are doing so that we can push that out there visually to you. And when we get those videos and the pictures, we're putting those onto the Facebook pages of the Klamath National Forest. Susie's sharing it to the CAL FIRE Siskiyou page. We're also putting it on the NC Web Fire page. So that's how we're trying to tell the story of what's happening out there. Because a lot of times when they're out there working, they're in the remote areas that you're not going to see them necessarily if you're driving in the area. So we have our guys out there capturing those pictures. And now that we start having those pictures coming in, we're going to start getting those stories out there for you guys. Does that answer your question, Janet? All right. And we had one more up here.
Okay. I was wondering about where we live, we have no cell phone service, so we don't usually give out those numbers. And we received code red notice by email and by our landline. But what if we're not home? Then how would you send it out to all of them?
She's asking if use her cell phone, will it still get to her if she's not home? She primarily uses her email or her landline.
Cell phone? Do you have a cell phone at all?
We do, but we just don't have coverage where we live.
So it is that
So-
it is dependent on the coverage. The one thing that we actually called today and asked about that. So there was a wireless issue on. Was it yesterday that we had issues with Verizon? Yeah, Verizon. We had some issues. They were fantastic. We called Verizon and got some cows or cells on wheels, especially downriver. We did that. But if the service isn't there, you're not going to get it. If you've got like a little bit of service, it'll push it. But if you've got and I know I've been down 96, there's just no service. And
This is at McAdams Creek. McAdams Creek, there's none there.
there's none
at
either
all.
there, right? So landline, it will also go to your email or sign up to a text, but that's about it. One of those things that come talk to me and we'll figure a good solution out for this.
We're evacuated now, so we have no access to either one of those.
Okay.
You know.
Come talk to me afterwards. We'll figure this out.
Do I have any more questions on this side? How about on this side? Are we good online? I might have one more, sorry. I don't think we have anybody representing power. The question is, when is the power going to be restored out near Quigley's? Does anybody have an answer for that? The answer is they're currently working on it. We don't have anybody here today to represent that or to answer that question, but they are working on it constantly. They're also a part of a lot of the meetings that we have during the day. So, with no more questions this evening, my personnel are still going to be here if you want to come up and ask them questions one-on-one. I do want to remind you guys, Project Camp is here to help the kids that are affected. So if you know any kids out there that would utilize this camp and it'd be good for them, please do not hesitate to talk to them either. Thank you guys for joining us, and have a good evening.